jogging or running at the gym, it doesn't help for weight loss, doesn't help for fat loss.
외과 의사로서 말씀드립니다. 제발 저랑 수술실에서 만나지 맙시다. 치매, 당뇨, 뇌졸중, 심장병은 누구나 걸리는 당연한 병이 아니라고 외치는 한 외과 의사가 있습니다. 3,000명 이상의 심장을 수술하고 수천 명의 환자를 진료한 심장외과 의사가 심장질환에 안 걸리는 방법을 설명했습니다. 이름만 대면 알만한 세계적인 스포츠용품을 만드는 회사에서 30만 원을 훌쩍 넘는 러닝화를 출시한 건 해외 및 국내의 달리기 열풍과 더불어 유산소 운동을 하는 인구가 늘어났다고 판단하기 때문인데요. 과연 유산소 운동은 건강에 도움이 될까요?
Tactic for fat loss. That's a shock to most people because we've been taught that cardio is everything.
Right. So when we look at the science around cardio, chronic cardio exercise, what most people think of as jogging or running at the gym, we see that it doesn't help for weight loss, doesn't help for fat loss. And that's why I don't want people to focus on cardio. And, when we look at the macro level of this, we have more gyms today than we ever have. People spend more time at the gyms doing cardio than they ever have. And yet, we have a worse obesity problem than we ever have. So cardio is not effective for weight loss. Science is pretty clear on that. Doesn't mean that cardio doesn't have benefits. And I'm not telling people stop all the cardio that you're doing. I just don't want people to think that only by doing cardio are they going to be able to lose weight and lose fat and have long-term success around that. The underlying assumption there is that if we just burn more calories, that will compensate for the extra calories that we've been eating. And again, we see that that doesn't work over and over again. We know that our body actually adjusts the amount of calories that it burns. And if you go and you do that hour at the gym, during that hour, you're going to have burnt more calories. But during the other 23 hours of the day, your body is actually going to burn less calories to make up for that.
Well, that's bad news, isn't it?
That is bad news. When we build muscle burns more calories throughout the day. So that's the other reason that the focus on muscle building is really the most effective way to exercise your way to weight loss.
So weightlifting, you would advise as a preferential way to lose fat and improve our metabolic health versus just like going for a jog.
Right.
Even if I'm burning 500 calories on my jog versus burning 500 calories doing weightlifting, the weightlifting calories burnt are more important for weight loss than the jogging calories.
Yeah, so when we look at the science around building muscle, resistance exercise, we see two unique benefits to building muscle. Number one is that muscle is going to be more metabolically active tissue that we're going to have on us all the time. So we're going to be burning more calories throughout the day, despite, the activity that we're doing.
But aren't we just going to get more hungry?
We don't seem to get more hungry from those, from that metabolic activity. It's not the same as doing the cardio making us more hungry.
지금 보시는 사진은 저자가 공개한 10대 때 모습입니다. 누가 봐도 비만인 상태고 당분과 고칼로리 음식을 자주 섭취한 것처럼 보이는데요. 놀랍게도 저자의 모친은 국가에서 정해준 가이드라인을 따라 설탕이 첨가된 시리얼은 빼고 마가린, 다이어트 소다, 저지방 우유를 먹였다고 합니다. 저자는 문제의 원인을 찾기 시작했는데요.
Dietary advice that we've all heard, here it's the U.S. dietary guidelines, it's the food pyramid. But I think the fatal flaw within that food pyramid is this concept that we should be eating low-fat diets. I think we can clearly now go back and say the science that led to that recommendation was flawed, maybe fraudulent. The outcomes of following that diet are disastrous. They're all around us. They're the, skyrocketing rates of obesity and diabetes that we see. There are the 88% of adults in the United States that are not metabolically healthy. And it's the fact that heart disease, the very condition that was designed to impact, remains far and away the number one killer. And really, there's very little to no evidence that low-fat diets have had any benefit on the incidence of heart disease. And I would say that it's made it worse because they do promote obesity and diabetes, which are major risk factors for heart disease.
And it sent me down a pathway where I started to think differently about my health. I eliminated sugar at first and started changing the foods that I was eating. I had the same short-term success that I had had before. I was able to lose a bunch of weight, and I said, this is great. But I realized that something was different. Month after month, year after year, I was able to maintain it. As I learned more, as I walked down this journey, I came to realize the true root cause of our health problems. And understanding those true root causes of our health problems is what has now led me to the long-term success. And I can sit here now, 8 years later and say that I know that I have truly tackled my health challenges. And now I can help others to be tackling their health challenges as well. Heart disease is the number one killer here in the United States and worldwide. But it wasn't always that way. It really only became that way within the past 70 years or so. We have to ask why. Because if we're going to take the view, which the healthcare system largely has, that heart disease is inevitable, it's so common it must be inevitable, then why wasn't it always a problem? It literally is all around us. I want us to step back and start asking, why is that?
Why is that?
It's because of the food that we're eating. It's that simple. Here in the United States, starting right around 1950, there was a sharp increase in the incidence of heart disease. At the time, our sitting president, while in office, had a heart attack. And this set off the alarm bells. And everyone started asking, where did all this heart disease come from? 1900, 50 years before. Heart disease is incredibly rare. The leading physicians of the time would go their entire careers without really seeing heart disease. So something changes in a pretty short period of time. What does that correlate with? It correlates with the introduction of processed food. Things like sugar, the consumption of sugar starts rising dramatically along with the incidence of heart disease. Packaged foods, processed foods, whatever you want to call them. These are the things that we see being introduced widespread into society around that time.